The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Elena Russ.
This morning, we are on day 2 of Verdict Watch. Deliberations set to resume in one of the most closely watched trials in Kern County history. Closing arguments wrapped up this week in the murder trial of Trezell and Jacqueline West, the couple charged with killing their 2 adopted boys, Oren and Orson, months before reporting them missing in 2020. The boys' bodies have never been found. The prosecution's pivotal testimony coming from the West's eldest biological child, who claimed he saw Oren's dead body at the family's apartment in Bakersfield. The defense argues police focused on the West from the beginning, ignoring other possibilities. Jurors began their deliberations yesterday but left without reaching a verdict. We will let you know as soon as the jury returns a verdict with a breaking news alert sent right to your phone through our free KGET News app.
A vigil was held last night for a teenager who was shot and killed in Lamont. We first brought you the story as breaking news yesterday morning, and now we're learning more about the victim. Family and friends identify him as 17-year-old Leonel Gonzalez. He was shot on Camino La Jolla Tuesday night. Candles and flowers were placed at the scene by those remembering the life cut short. By our count, this is the 38th confirmed homicide in Kern County so far this year. A woman accused of causing a crash that killed a well-known local teacher is now facing charges of murder and vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. It happened back in February in Southwest Bakersfield. Prosecutors say Marky Qualls ran a red light and collided with longtime Arvin High School educator Larry Hallam. After weeks of treatment, Hallam died from his injuries in April. Qualls is being held on $1 million bail and is due in court tomorrow. Hallam's celebration of life, meantime, is being held Saturday at 11 a.m. at the First Presbyterian Church. In lieu of flowers, friends and family asked donations be made to the KHSD Educational Foundation to fund a memorial scholarship in his honor.
And now to a traffic alert just on the other side of the Grapevine, a portion of I-5 just reopening. We have new video of crews making repairs to the interstate this week. You can see here back in March, a landslide caused part of the road in the Salone lane there to crumble. This is near Castaic. All southbound lanes closed in the overnight hours this week, so crews can make repairs there. They are set to close again tonight, starting at 10 p.m., wrapping up about 5 a.m. tomorrow. Then they'll be out there working again on Sunday from midnight to 9 a.m.
National news this morning. President Biden is in Japan for the G7 summit. Back home, his team of negotiators, including House Speaker and Bakersfield Congressman Kevin McCarthy, are working to prevent the U.S. from defaulting on its debt obligations for the first time ever.
President Biden in Japan, focusing on foreign issues amid optimism in debt ceiling talks back home.
Every leader in the room understands the consequences if we fail to pay our bills. And it would be catastrophic for the American economy and the American people.
But now we're along such a short timeline, it makes it almost harder.
While he is cutting his overseas trip short, critics blasted the president, saying he waited until the last minute to negotiate directly with GOP leaders.
Accept the fact that we must change how this town spends money. Inaction and intransigence will not wipe away $32 trillion in debt.
Some Democrats appear frustrated with negotiations and urge the president to invoke the 14th Amendment, arguing it would be unconstitutional for the government to not pay its bills.
I do think it's very, very, very important that the president keep his constitutional option on the table in case negotiations break down.
Experts say doing so could spark a bitter legal fight. For now, both sides appear focused on reaching a compromise.
I'm hopeful the president's team will join House Republicans to produce a responsible spending agreement.
We're going to come together because there's no alternative.
Negotiators have less than 2 weeks to either find a solution or risk a first ever debt default. And today, Vice President Harris will provide an update on the debt ceiling and the potential impacts of a default. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Making news around the nation, a resolution to expel Republican Congressman George Santos has been referred to the Ethics Committee. That referral approved in a 221 to 204 vote. No Republicans voted against the motion. That referral allowing Republicans to avoid a vote of the resolution itself, which was introduced on Tuesday. Last week, Santos pleaded not guilty to federal charges, including wire fraud, money laundering, and theft of public funds. After the vote, Santos reiterated his vow to defend himself through the investigation and a trial.
Montana is now the first state where TikTok is banned for all users. Governor Greg Gianforte signed a bill into law that makes it illegal for app stores to give users the option to even download TikTok and illegal for the company to operate in the state. The law is likely to face challenges in court, arguing it restricts free speech, and experts say it will be extremely difficult to enforce, if not impossible. But the governor praised its privacy protections. A TikTok spokesperson says the company has 200,000 users in Montana, as well as 6,000 businesses who use the platform.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Sierra snowmelt. Kern County leaders releasing new information on how they plan to keep people living in the Metro Bakersfield area informed about our potential for flooding as our historically heavy snowpack continues to melt, leading to a rising Kern River. Here's 17's Jim Scott on what you need to know.
While wildland fire crews were busy filling and distributing sandbags to property owners along the river east of Bakersfield, county officials were rolling out new inundation maps created by the Kern County Fire Department.
There is no evacuation warning in place. There are no evacuation orders in place. These maps are intel for people to be prepared.
These aerial inundation maps are the first ever produced by the county fire department for this purpose.
And everyone just said, well, we've never done that before. And I'll tell you what, nothing makes me happier than hearing the words, we've never done that before.
The maps are the result of 2 weeks of aerial reconnaissance and ground observations over the last 2 weeks to give the public an updated bird's eye view of areas along the river that could be at risk of flooding if the Kern River exceeds its targeted flow rate of roughly 7,500 cubic feet per second.
Because we preach that we want our community to be prepared. Well, the best way we can prepare our community is by giving them the information and the tools that they need.
Note the areas in yellow and orange along the riverbanks. The yellow designates areas along the river at risk of inundation if river flows exceed targeted levels by 1,000 cubic feet per second. The orange identifies areas susceptible to flooding if river flows increase by 2,000 second feet above the targeted threshold. County Fire Chief Aaron Duncan says it was crucial the county develop its own set of maps as opposed to relying on old maps produced by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
The 100-year maps that we saw from FEMA, they're just too broad brush for us. It's not good enough for our residents. I challenged my team. I said, how can we do this? How can we make better maps for our residents?
Those maps, along with other information of value to local residents, will now be posted to the county's website by the end of the week at the latest.
All of these maps that you're seeing up here are going to be getting updated, whether on a daily basis, certainly on a weekly basis. Those new maps will be posted to the website.
So, as firefighters on sandbag detail continue to serve residents along the river with a measure of protection, the flow of real-time information to the public is ramping up.
So that's where we are today, is bringing these maps to the citizens of Kern County so that they can make informed decisions and be prepared.
From our 17 News follow-up file, it's been more than 2 weeks since 4 people were killed at a motorhome in Mojave. Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood held a news conference yesterday to try and put the community there at ease. Sheriff Youngblood says the investigation has been extensive due to the amount of forensic evidence left at the crime scene. But he insists the community has no need to worry, saying there's no threat of another mass shooting. He says evidence points to the shooting being an isolated incident. Youngblood says drug paraphernalia was discovered at the home, and he believes that could have made the victims a target.
Obviously, from the lifestyle of the residents, we found some drug paraphernalia. This has the implications of a drug house, and bad things happen in places like this.
The sheriff did not announce whether they have any suspects, but he said he does not believe the person or people responsible have left the state. The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.